stuff, but there's also this. SCARZ must win or they will be eliminated.
Yeah, let's jump in. Only the second border played at Reload Rio 2025. The one and only being Loud v Fnatic back yesterday. So excited to jump in. One of the remastered maps as well, so got a big visual overhaul. Looks really nice.
Yeah, the lighting so far I've actually really enjoyed so far on the maps with the visual overhaul. We head into the first ban phase, and you can see top of your screen, of course, the bullets that have been reloaded. Look at SCARZ guts. Look at that. So you are playing a match where you must win. Simple as that. No other alternative. Otherwise, you're literally finishing this, going back to the hotel, and getting ready to pack your bags. But if they do win it, your prize will be 17 bullets. It's a huge jump up. So forget
intrigued.
what I said about before in terms of being able to pick a team. If SCARZ do win this match, they will become target number 1 for day 5.
Yeah, where do they finish? Like, where do they finish in terms of standings, right? Because if they are one of the highest seeded teams, I don't quite know if they would be, but theoretically, if
they get to 17.
Bro, imagine being one of the lower seeded teams heading into tomorrow. You just pick SCARZ and you
what if 17's enough to get top 4 today? Imagine playing a best of 1, and if you lose, you're out, and if you win, you're in top 4, and you go through the main stage. That's just
surely not, right?
I mean, obviously, there's so many matches still to be played today, and with all of the bullets being reloaded from all the other matches, it's hard to actually get a grasp and have a proper prediction as to like what's that threshold for top 4.
I know you're kind of scaring me with that statement.
But I put it in your mind, haven't I?
Someone needs to run some simulations to work out what the top 4 count is.
Kind of. So, by the way, whoever wins this game will be on 17 bullets. Because Elevate will get the knockout extra bullet if they get rid of SCARZ. They will go to 17. So whoever wins this is going to be on 17 bullets.
So Azami Castle, Deimos, and Blitz taken out. All very standard here for the most part for Border. Castle and Operator, that does typically facilitate more horizontal extensions on a couple of these particular objectives, and so that's a little bit of util reduced in terms of the clearance for Elevate to worry about. I quite like this actually, the setup from SCARZ. We saw the deployable shield facing in towards Office. We've got the security pillar being held, the long angle from Fish-like. So a couple of different elements here to sort of play around. How will Elevate look to deal with it? They themselves bring double shield for this opening round, Blackbeard and Monty. And in combination with some of that crowd control tooling like the Cap and Lion, their teamwork will be rewarded here if it's clean. Such as Border, sometimes though, the initial map entry can be tough, but right on that cue, Ion able to find first, and that will weaken this security hold significantly and put pressure on the likes of those over towards Mez. Elsewhere, Semper as well has walked straight into sight.
It takes a bit of damage. Early contact, now pulls out the gun. Obviously just to kind of has the whole position and is able to relay the position of Choppy over. So it's a 4 versus 2, and Elevate can get the plant down, and this is a rather quick round. Don't think SCARZ were ready for it. Good kill from Ayagata, but he gets traded immediately. And it leaves Wishoy in a 1v3 post-plant against 2 shields. Virtually impossible. And that is a rapid start for Elevate. The way that you want to begin here, attacking on Border. Test SCARZ early, see if they're ready. They were not. And Elevate will take the opening round.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to know what that top 4 threshold for bullets is going to be. So I've chucked a message in the Tele group chat to see if someone smarter than us can work it out. Hopefully Fresh or Alfama have run the numbers. So we can kind of gauge what the outcome of this match will mean in terms of a tournament-wide impact. But in terms of that round in isolation, good start from Elevate. Able to wrangle map control pretty easily. And so SCARZ on the perimeter need to do a better job in withstanding that pressure. As we go over to Tellers then for the second round. Psycho with a 2K there in the opening round, a player with a pretty esteemed history in Siege, and I'm sure he'll be very eager to, well, is it fair to say play in front of his home crowd? I guess in some respects it is, right?
It is, yeah, no, absolutely.
Very much so. And no doubt, despite being an APL team, the Brazilians will get around them if they make the main stage. For sure.
5 Brazilians playing in front of Brazilians. Oh. You never know, could Elevate have the dream start to their new lineup for the organization? But the opening round, I mean, it's a really good one from Elevate because I think you don't really want to allow SCARZ to kind of get into the server, feel a little bit calm, get steady, get into good positions. You want to hit them nice and hard and fast, and they did that. Abused the shield straight into sight. And what typically is, at least in the APAC region, one of the more difficult, if not the most difficult site on Border. to actively take. And that's where probably like the Azami ban helps facilitate that a little bit. You don't have to deal with the shields as Romeo doing some work on the shock drone. As I said, 9th so far at the tournament. Now, you played 3 games. Yes, admittedly, one of those was against PSG Talon, but the other 2 were of high-quality opponents. So for Romeo to actually be inside that top 10 for EPS is still a significant feat. And there were a couple of other members as well for Elevate that had some positive EPS. I think it's about 3 out of the 5 players, 100 plus. 0 for SCARZ. And that's probably the concern. Rek was sensational yesterday, though. Absolutely pumped his numbers up. And then the 3-0 against Kobilax, against him for Cloud9. Slower approach, though, this round for Elevate, so a complete change-up. I'll systematically look to clear, deal with a lot of the utility from those shock drones of Romeo. Drones go through. They've still got plenty remaining.
So I've got intel from Fresh, and he's guessing about 15 bullets.
Wow.
Could be enough.
Well, you reckon? So you win this game. Whoever wins it, you can't say will, but certainly more likely, as Fishlike can't win that battle against Ion. He's low. Rek, though, does get the opening kill onto the top-rated player for Elevate in Romeo. Trades available and swiftly taken. 3 versus 3. And Fishlike will fall. Ion will finish off the job that he started. And down to the 2 top-rated players for SCARZ, but Psycho swiftly dealing with Gator. Rek will also not be capable of fighting back and Elevate with a 2-0 start.
I'd love to be able to provide some analytical insight into that round, Jake, but I was running the numbers in the background, looking at the spreadsheets and the rule books and trying to get a read as to, again, the impact of this match tournament-wide. But from the glimpses that I saw, again, Elevate able to just get that map control. Not seamlessly, but much easier than you should be allowed.
I think a lot of it comes down to the aggressive nature of SCARZ there, or the lack thereof, right? Like, you're playing border, so naturally you're not going to be able to play bunker positions or sit on site. You've got to make sure you actually utilize that map as much as possible, and we did see somewhat of an extension up towards Office, and they wanted to have some top floor presence, but ultimately Elevate just kind of walk in, kill a couple of people, and win the round. I mean, it's as simplistic as that, but SCARZ have got to fight back a little bit more, or at least try and delay them a little bit more. It's a very disappointing start for SCARZ when you take into consideration what is actually on the line here. Not only if you lose this, you're eliminated. You are just straight up eliminated. But if you win this, you actually have a chance at top 4. So in terms of incentives for this match for both teams, it is as equal as it possibly can be. The only caveat being, of course, if Elevate did end up losing to SCARZ, for instance, they wouldn't be eliminated. They'd have 10 bullets going into to tomorrow.
Yeah, strangely enough, yesterday in that cafe match, attack was actually their strength in regulation, the 4 rounds compared to just the 2 on defense. I mean, oddly enough, the dynamic from a cafe to a border is quite different.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's as different as it probably can get in Siege.
But, I mean, I'm getting the sense already that maybe SCARZ defensively are going to have struggles here.
Well, they're not a great attacking team either, though.
Well, they were yesterday. That's my point.
Yeah.
But they weren't before that. I think it probably plays into just the inconsistency that SCARZ are experiencing at the moment.
And I think that's also for Elevate too. They've probably had a bit of that consistency. Even in their losses, they've still had good moments. They've still been competitive. So you kind of take that, then you go and beat Talon. That game was actually, in the end, probably a little closer than I thought it would maybe be. I just need to see SCARZ be somewhat a bit more aggressive. Like, I'm not necessarily saying you got to go for runouts or even spawn peaks, but just holding some of these entry positions a little bit tighter, making sure it's a little bit more difficult for Elevate to just kind of waltz in, take positions like security. Can you not contest things like break a little bit more? It's a huge extension if you did, but SCARZ need to be more active on the defense.
Zoto canister over towards that armory wall to just stall out a little bit of time.
This is better though. I mean, I like this from Choppy. A huge extension over towards armory. Delay. Play the Zoto canister. You got the deployable shield as well.
Well, there is that security hold. Rex swings in late. Tries to find a second through the wall. And eventually will land the shot. And almost every fight around the map bar 1 goes the way of SCARZ. And with that, the 3rd round will ultimately be theirs.
I mean, but it's literally what I said though, right? That's much better from SCARZ. That's what they didn't do in the first 2 rounds, where they were looking to make more of a contest, looking to take fights, and looking to utilize the map. That was a huge roam extension from them, and they were able to also deny a lot of those entry positions. What did you notice? A little bit more difficult for Elevate to actually just kind of waltz in, take map control.
So as we prepare for round 4, an additional ban for each roster. Haven't really thought too deeply as to what our expectations are for these additional bans. So, wait and see. Fenrir Grim, understandably so. Grim has been pretty prominent from Elevate thus far, and I've certainly noticed that I think it's been Semper has been able to get into pretty advanced positions, rather uncontested, quite a few times, and if being put in playmaking positions and being able to deploy those Bs, it can be then very difficult on a map such as Border, which is naturally a bit more claustrophobic to find position defensively. And so SCARZ taking that off the board, no longer needing to deal with it for the remaining 3 rounds. Back over to Armory then for the reattempt. Arguably the most one-sided round that we have seen so far was that opening round. Round 2 not too far behind, but let's see how they play it this time around. In terms of the structure and the overall setup, rather similar with the shield facing in towards office, lines of sight into security as sort of anticipated, armory wall as well, exposed. So the setup is there for for SCARZ to aggress, to contest on the peripheral, which means they critically cannot allow Elevate into the building. Like, that is the goal. At least on the second floor, do not let them step inside.
Laying out the welcome mat.
Yeah, and I imagine SCARZ aren't just going to sit back as much as last time on Armory and Archives, where they really fell back, allowed that entry, very easy entry. That third round was a bit more of the blueprint. Be a bit more active. Take these window fights. That's what you want to do here on Border. You kind of want to keep them as long as possible on those exterior balcony positions. Keep them outside the map. Keep them poking and prodding. And then suddenly they look up and they look at the time. There's not much left and they have to just kind of send it in. Obviously, the Montagne can facilitate the attacking push for Elevate very nicely. Shoy wanting to take the contact and doing it nicely, but he did walk into a trap that was set. He overextended that. The initial part's not that bad, but you don't walk out.
You get away with that against a bad Japanese team locally, but you're not going to get away with that at an international
It's an
event.
overextension.
There's 2 people that are going to be watching that.
It's taking the mindset way too far, where you want to be aggressive, yes, but don't overdo it.
You just shoulder peek for a bit of info and pressure. You're not. Your goal is not even to get a kill. It's just to prevent the map entry. Because now you've created a big pocket in defense and put a lot of pressure on Fishlike.
Yeah, Fishlike has to be very good here with the aim, but
and
Ion is so much better. That's just a wonderful peek from Ion. Fishlike had the right idea, and so far the only damage done to Elevate, it's from the hands of Ion until he ends up finishing Hacker off. Romeo will get rid of Gator. But to be fair, they're all falling for SCARZ, and Elevator firmly in control. Wreck, as good as he's been over the last few days, I don't know if he's going to be capable here in a 1 versus 3. It's so much time for Elevate to just really think their way through this, provided they don't give him a bunch of 1v1s. He is anticipating a bit of a pinch through Fountain.
Well, they can't cross back with the line of sight, so they know exactly where he is, and he hasn't moved.
He's completely stuck, dead stuck. This is where the patience comes from as well. If you're Psycho, don't just rush in. There's a chance, and he does take it. That's one for Wreck now. Down to a 1v2, but he was on the right side. Psycho, well positioned. And a 3-1 lead for Elevate. Attacking well here on Border, but it goes back to the beginning of that round. I mean, the peak out of break there is not necessarily what you want to be doing. It's like you said, you want to show presence, the odd shoulder peek, the odd shot, but there's no need to run out to that balcony exterior.
Whoa, we just walked into the club. Holy moly.
Elevate starting the party early here, 3-1 up, and a tactical timeout called by SCARZ. I don't think they're partying at all. 6-4, by the way, for Wreck. The next best is Ayugate at 3-3. And why do I bring that up? Statistically, in terms of the EPS ranking, those are the 2 best players for SCARZ. The other 3 are not even remotely near it. Shoy, Choppy, and Fishlike have had an awful tournament so far, and that continues here into day 4. So that goes from a trend to almost now a standard. That's what we've come to expect from this SCARZ lineup at Reload Rio. On the flip side, though, if you're Elevate and you're getting Psycho now going 7-1, Romeo's only got the 1 kill. That's actually an inverse from what we have been seeing at Reload so far, which has been Romeo the one that's fragging. Romeo's the one with the high EPS numbers, and now Psycho. no surprise, is starting to get going. And yeah, I think Elevate are feeling just super comfortable here on Border. I mean, there's not much pressure on them.
No, not particularly. Certainly not in comparison. SCARZ just finding it difficult to balance aggression in this match so far. They began playing too passive. In the prior round, we saw things unravel off the back of over-aggression. And look, we're sitting in a position where it's very easy to be critical, but it's an international siege event, and on a map like Border, you need to get those basics down pat to find success defensively. So we'll see if SCARZ can tidy up now off the back of attack. Still very much an opportunity to at least get 2 rounds, and I mean, depending on the dynamic in the matchup of the bands, especially with this new system, that could actually suffice.
Yeah, I mean, it's Border, right? So you can kind of give a little bit more leeway for the defense, and as you said, with the ban impacts as well, like you're missing some really strong operators here. No Fenrir, no Azami, no Castle, which can be very prevalent on Border. It really does limit what you can kind of bring to the table. Which, by the way, I think one of the good things with the ban system as well, or at least I hope will be the case, is maybe a bit more prevalence from operators that we don't typically see as much. Maybe more in that niche category might actually become, you know, more commonly seen. Depends on the maps, depends on the bans, of course.
Oh, it's super trap heavy for this round with the yellow Legion combination.
Balkan canisters as well.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the Flores to deal with those, though.
Psycho's been playing very well so far this match. A lot of patience with him. Romeo, maybe not as much. Just a walk through the front door of Archives. Does spot Aegator, or at least a very small portion of him, as Hyon just going to try and go in on the repel. It is the Blackbeard, but Aegator's still better. One close left, he has no idea. And in the end, Romeo will punish him with that swift entry from earlier, but a little bit more aggressiveness inside of the map from SCARZ, and it's certainly more warranted, and it will benefit them as well. I mean, Elevate went for a bit more of that fast pace, 3-2-1, push in, try and overload certain positions. It does not work. SCARZ were more ready. And look at the difference. Like, this is far more similar to that third round when SCARZ were aggressive inside the building, and all the other rounds lost were either they were too passive or they were over-peaking outside the building. So this has got to be their bread and butter going into round 6. The aggression's fine, keep it inside the map. And that's a nice little pop-up from Washoy, anticipating that diffuser looking to be recovered, and a second round found for SCARZ keeps them in good stead.
Yeah, the set play there from Elevate, trying to take advantage of the lurk through Archives. I think the sandwich hit from the Blackbeard was to facilitate that or to create a distraction to facilitate the lurk, and the timing was a bit awkward. Some of the utility plays by defense also made it tough. And positionally, SCARZ were in the perfect places to punish that and landed their shots, which, I mean, typically isn't the biggest issue for SCARZ in terms of mechanics. It's never really the issue. It's more so just mindset, positioning, fundamentals. So doing a better job in that round and positioning themselves now with the potential for a 3-3 half, which I think is more than good enough. And whilst there might not be a ton of pressure for Elevate in terms of elimination for today, depending on what that threshold ends up being for the top 4 or top 5, depending on eliminations, there's maybe a world in which they can qualify.
It's kind of what we were talking a little bit before we got into this match in our pre-show, which was, you know, if Elevate do not, say, qualify top 4, they're a target then tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
They are absolutely a target
because, again, you look back at the matches that they've actually played, for those who maybe missed the pre-show, Elevate's bullet count looks amazing, but they've only won 1 game, and it was against PSG.
Yeah,
like, it doesn't bode particularly well.
And they don't have an extended mag as well.
Yeah.
So if if you're sitting on 10 bullets tomorrow, and I mean, again, I don't know what the bullet count's going to look like, but I'm sure there'll be like one or two top teams from NA, EU, or Brazil that will look at Elevate and think, right, gotcha. So you can go from sitting very pretty coming into day 4 to then basically done by day 5. And on the flip side for SCARZ, you win this and you could be finishing top 8 overall and making main stage by amassing enough bullets by the end of today to auto-qualify from top 4. Final round of this opening half. Things just starting to heat up. A tense match here. Certainly brewing. I think a third round here for SCARZ would be absolutely amazing for them. On defense Border, where their defense struggled yesterday, a little bit of an inverse from usually the way it goes for them.
Oh, really good value from the Twitch in this round. Elevate able to open Armory Wall, followed up with the mirror taken down. Recollecting not to peek too aggressively from half wall in clearing that drone util. Somewhat understandably so, given SCAR's tendency in the match so far to give away freebies. Security control then for Elevate. Looking to try and isolate these two over towards Armory, cut off the cross, force them out. SCARZ, fortunately for them, do have the pulse down below, and so will be feeding this information across eventually if they are to get close. It's not going to head the line, get info off the Monty, and in doing so has kind of forced SCARZ down somewhat. It is actually still the 4 players above, however, as I mentioned that.
Oh, Choppy, by the way, is on a bit of a flank here over towards top waiting. He may actually get involved. It's Rek, though, that finds the double kill. Here does come Choppy, and Ion had absolutely no idea. Wonderful movement on the defense for SCARZ. Utilizing the map, this has been their bread and butter in the rounds that they've won. This is where they are beating Elevate absolutely confidently.
And what's the difference? They didn't give away their life in a silly, uncalculated fight early in the round.
Yep.
They sat back, they drained utility, they kept playing crossfires, they rotated if they absolutely had to, and then re-established position later. And in the meantime, Elevate weren't able to get a ton of ground off the Monty, despite the groundwork security. So, again, some flashes of brilliance again from SCARZ in doing so, even out the scoreline 3-3. Attack has been a massive concern for them, but there were positive signs yesterday on Cafe against Cloud9. And we'll see if that translates into this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, that's much better from SCARZ, right? So if you kind of look at the tail of the tape, it was a 3-1 lead for Elevate, and in those rounds, it was, in terms of round 1, absolute, that fast hit by Elevate, overwhelmed SCARZ. Okay, you put that one, bank it. The second round was the more disappointing one if you're SCARZ, because it was a bit of a slow burn attack by Elevate. They didn't do a whole lot. They just got to walk in. There wasn't a lot of contests, so SCARZ eventually then lose that. Much better defense than third round. They don't do anything wrong. They don't peak. They're a bit more active. But then round 4 was that overpeak round. I mean, you go out on that balcony and try and make contact. You lose that in a pinch, and then that kind of costs you the round 3-1. Much better. Round 5 and round 6, essentially the way that SCARZ wanted to finish things off, they got to do that. They got to dictate the contest. They got to be more aggressive inside the building, make more calculated plays on the defense. So really, really fascinating half here. Elevate got a bit of their stuff to go and work for them, and SCARZ got a bit to work for them as well. 3-3, all tied up. Again, the ramifications of this match. If SCARZ lose, they are eliminated. Whoever wins, they're on 17 bullets.
Deploying welcome mat.
10 seconds to insertion. 5 seconds to insertion.
Which again, I think for Elevate, it may not seem, because Elevate's not in that realm of being eliminated, there's less pressure on them. There's a whole heap of pressure on them. You lose this, you're not auto-calling top 4 by tonight. Absolutely not. And then you're a target tomorrow with no extended mag. And needing to run the numbers as to what's going to get us in the remaining 4 slots, because that's going to be like the teams tomorrow that are going to be playing have to somehow run the numbers and figure out what do we actually need to finish top 4. You're going to have a team tomorrow, guarantee it, that's going to win their match but not have enough bullets and will not go through. At least one.
Frag grenade out.
So the sense in play for this round, I'm just having a look back at some of the stats this week, a 40% win rate. So very much mixed in terms of end result. And we'll see what kind of impact it may have here as the first is being prepped. Death mark down below, B's to come through. So a set play here from SCARZ to clear security, and Chopper gets the first.
Yeah, good entry. So far, well played. SCARZ have got a game plan here with the lineup they're bringing.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that, right? Sense to cover the armory line of sight half wall, put a bit of pressure box, that's clean. I mean, Psycho's now the second line of defense.
Yeah, and he's trying to just provide a little bit of that pressure over towards break, make sure they don't get the full map control, get into the building, and so far it's working for Elevate. Really, really solid response from Elevate, because SCARZ kind of got what they wanted to do to begin with, but they just couldn't follow through because Elevate was steadfast on the defense. You know, really solid. 90 seconds left, 2v4, and just like that, the start to the round that SCARZ obviously wanted to have with the lineup that they brought to this round, yeah, clearly has been dealt with by Elevate. Don't imagine there's going to be too much of a world back into this for Fishlike and Choppy.
A nest of beauties in position.
Yeah, so a minute on the clock then remains, and SCARZ fortunately now looking to scrap away at something. The attack itself a little bit half-cooked in the end, and I mean, again, we saw really good map control off the back of the sense, but then following up, the backline was able to withstand the pressure from Elevate. So this one at this point in time really should just peter out. Maybe the Deimos can find a pick or two. Choppy trying to find the crunch, and does.
Not a lot of time left. You've got to get this next kill straight away. Still one gas bait for Romeo, and they've lost Choppy. So Elevate will look to retake the lead here to begin the second half. Yeah, they started that really strong, SCARZ, and then Elevate responded with a lovely counterpunch. And the defensive side of that security fight, you know, it felt like SCARZ were very much aiming to take that position on the map, and Elevate said, no, absolutely, under no circumstances are we giving this up and allowing you to get good control close to sight. It was a really, really solid round, actually, to watch, and so far it's been a really fun game to watch as well. 4-3, close game, back and forth. Both sides have shown really good elements in terms of what they want to do and then executing it. Sure, both have made the odd mistake here or there.
It's definitely been a lot. I mean, not every round, but I would say that probably close to the majority of rounds have been rather high quality in terms of approach and execution. And even the last round, a good example where SCARZ had a decently well thought out attack and composition, and the timing in the execute wasn't all that bad. An instance though where Elevate were able to quickly adapt and withstand that pressure, position the backline, land a couple of good shots, and prevent that map control from falling into the hands of their opposition all too easily. So pretty high quality across the board for a matchup that I'm sure many are maybe looking at as being one of the lower quality games at this event.
Yeah, I mean, maybe yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree, but I think in terms of what's on the line.
Well, yeah, I mean, the stakes are great.
Yeah, the stakes
and
are
I thought the quality wasn't going to match it, but I think so far it's actually doing a pretty decent job. Both teams are playing well.
Yeah, been very, very impressed. And I think for Elevate, they're still got a little bit up the sleeve because Romeo's not fully firing the way he has been this tournament, as you said. Very nice. Rek able to find the opening pick. He's been sensational once again when it comes to SCARZ. He's been easily their best player at the tournament. He saved them quite literally yesterday in that 1-versus-1 against Kobilax 3-0, which gave them the 3 bullets, which, again, imagine that's the difference, guys. Imagine, you know, the threshold, someone's in 5th on like 16 or 15 points or something like that, and you think because he won 3-0, they walked in with the 3 bullets today. 4v4, though, with that trade, Rek does go down. He is traded, but he's also 4-0 on entry. I mean, that is a big, big stat. He's the one leading the way, helping that team. They've got to follow. Fish like 1-5 on the Dockerby, losing that life. Again, you've got to follow the lead set by Rek. He cannot, and with that, Elevate have the lead. Big swing from Washoy. There was one in Fountain, and honestly, that was a lazy check. It wasn't a swing with confidence. And Naka will punish him. And Elevate are sitting pretty here in the 8th round.
Oh, had to win that fight, but Ion too sharp. A second there on the Scopos. A-Gator now in the 1-versus-3. A well-established player, a lot of experience, but unfortunately for him in this round, does not have that diffuser on an island out towards the Armory Breach. Not entirely sure if Elevate actually have a read onto that, as their positions suggest that's maybe not the case. That being said, still holding control above. A-Gator to hear footsteps to the right, and here's Romeo run off through break. One through the wall. So a 1-versus-2 and an opportunity here for SCARZ to clutch around.
I've already written it down as a 5-3. I don't know if A-Gator is going to be able to do this. He does have 50 seconds. Oh!
Don't count him out.
Lovely cast the curse there, and it's a blessing though for A-Gator. Swift headshot onto Romeo, and now against the Scopos in a 1v1, 40 seconds. He's done a tremendous amount of work, and he clutched it. No, Ion headshot. He heard the drop, he had the info. The same couldn't be said for A-Gator. He wasn't fully sure where Ion was, but Elevate do indeed get to that 5-3, and I don't have to scribble it out and fix it. It's all good. It's already locked in. 5-3, Elevate 2 rounds away from what could be putting them in a position to make that top 4. And again, I mean, I think we said it, or at least I said it to kind of begin the day. I think this Elevate roster may be a little bit underrated in the ability for multiple players to stand up throughout given matches. It's not just going to be like, if Rek doesn't show up, I don't know if SCARZ have got the firepower. If Rek's not performing well, I don't know if SCARZ can get the win. Romeo, 9th best player at the tournament so far, he's 3-7. But guess what? You've got a player like Psycho. Naka's showed really good quality. He's got 100 plus EPS. Ion's performing incredibly well. Semper played well yesterday. So you've got players that are all in a pretty equal standing.
Entry has been critical in this match. In the first half, only one opening kill was not converted. Funnily enough, that was Wreck.
But look who's dominating the entries though, Guz.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just about to mention, right? 7-8, both going the way of SCARZ, yet they lose the round. So
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse
they
it.
need to be converting those opportunities. They're finding them. But
There's
they're
only
just not
2
converting.
opening kills this entire match, right? We've played 8 rounds. Only 2 of those rounds, Elevate have found the opening kill. Yes, they converted in both. But I mean, that's an intriguing stat when you're leading 5-3. You know, the opening kill, you know, statistic is one of my favorites because it in Siege, it's just so important. Mainly because of the way the maps actually work.
And keeping in mind that those opening kills only on one occasion have been quickly traded.
Yeah,
So
yeah, the conversions and trades and...
sometimes you will sacrifice to get a favorable trade at the beginning, not being the case here.
I mean, right now, the stats are saying SCARZ shouldn't be 5-3 down, but Elevate, to their credit, are bucking the trend. SCARZ, can they find another opening pick? No, this time it goes the way of Semper, and it's on to Wreck as well. No surprise, of course, he wants to be the one to make the entry. Coming through the blitz, it's Fishlike through Fountain, pistol out, expecting one maybe towards top metal. 3v3 now, and SCARZ have picked up the pace. We haven't seen this from them so far in the second half. Only a couple of rounds played, though.
2-1 split from Elevate to above, 1 below, and the Valkyrie targeted by Deimos. Aegator looking sharp thus far, and so Semper needs to be careful, but unfortunately cannot escape that.
I'll tell him you went out swinging.
SCARZ now with the advantage.
Yeah, and this is where you can slow it down. You've got 90 seconds. You've got Fishlike on the shield. Try and utilize that if you possibly can. A couple of death marks becoming available for Aegator as well. Washoy low. So it's actually probably even, let's be honest, because Psycho and Naka are full health.
Well, they should just be able to put the sentry of Psycho on an island, kill him 1v3. Like, that is the win con.
There is a Nitro Cell available for Naka, though, over towards Armory, and he may be electing to use it, but he hasn't got an opportunity. Well played from Fishlike. Good use of that shield. Never even gave Naka a chance to try and shoot out the feet, and coming to help out. Wonderful teamwork from SCARZ. It's 5-4, and this one continues to heat up.
And in a sick twist of fate, the entry stat again, unusual.
They haven't had many of them either, Elevate, and then they get one, and then they can't convert.
Yeah. Testament there to SCARZ and being able to respond by flushing out Office. They got really exceptional value from the Deimos to dislodge those above. And then as mentioned, in the 2 versus 3, either target the sentry, go for that kill, or because they had the information off the back of the blitz onto the second player, they were able to isolate that pick, and then the retake's essentially impossible with the mark on the second player. So
I've really enjoyed
break
the
that down
siege,
more.
though. I mean, I think there's probably an element that for these two teams, getting to play some of the other top teams at the tournament, being able to play scrims, being able to essentially have a boot camp. If this was like day 2 of APL, would the quality be this high? Probably not. But when you're in this environment, you're playing against other top teams, you know, you're kind of scrimming and prepping very much well for these top teams. You then bring it into these kind of matches as well. Because I think in that particular round, SCARZ wanted to pick up the pace. They wanted to play fast. They've got the blitz, but then they lose the opening pick. And so sometimes in APAC, they might pull back a little bit and, oh, well, they got a pick. You know, let's kind of orientate ourselves a little bit and see if we want to change things up. But they just kind of they just stuck to their game plan and said, no, we're going to go in, we're going to overwhelm them, we're going to get a couple of kills back ourselves. Then it becomes a 3v3, and from there, anything can happen. So I really enjoyed what I saw from SCARZ in that round. And a lot of the things Elevate's been doing as well has really impressed me. I didn't have high expectations for this Elevate roster, but so far at this event, they've done some good things. And it's an opportunity here over towards these stairs. That is a lovely entry from Wreck. Romeo caught completely. Lovely little entry in towards Passport, and that is Wreck finding a lovely opening kill for SCARZ.
And Elevate put in a pretty difficult position for that additional ban. Do you take the Blitz off the board, or do you take off the Deimos? Because they've both been rather impactful. Ultimately, the Blitz and probably the safer option. With some of the counterplay on offer from the Deimos, like the Mute, for instance, or just positionally. Mute not in play, though, for this occasion, so Wreck will have a bit more free reign with those death marks. SCARZ now with the man advantage.
I like the Blitz ban. Just get rid of the shield. SCARZ very much.
Oh, triple shield. So again, one of those instances, and we've seen it be quite the meta here at this event so far, is you really double, triple down on a singular type of operator.
Wreck has crossed the threshold. 11 kills. Yes, he is dying. He is playing an aggressive role, though. I mean, that's really what you want from your entry fragger. He's found 3. No longer the entry, but more so following a continuous nature of bullets flying towards Elevate. Shut down finally by Semper, but his position known towards 90.
Oh, don't throw it.
And in towards security. Aegator dead. Was that a frost mat?
Yep.
And just like that, a 5v2 becomes a 3v2. With plenty of time remaining, SCARZ have got to think their way through this.
If I'm SCARZ here, I'm just consolidating an archive.
One drone left,
instead of fluffing around. They're just fluffing around top east, and they don't have information here.
They do have Roteros. 3 Roteros in pocket for Fishlike. 1 drone available.
Well, 2 Selmas as well, so they can work this position as well. Into
Oh.
fountain.
Choppy wanting to make the move up. Semper eventually losing his life, and that's a much better collapse from Washoy and SCARZ, and now Ion in a 1v3. Otherwise, this game's going to be all tied up. Washoy, good swing. Got a little bit hot and bothered in that round. Did it for SCARZ after an amazing start from Wreck, who finds the opening 3 kills by himself, but it was that initial opening kill. Swift entry to Passport. You know there's one towards East Stairs. You just wait. Good patience, and the patience is paid off. He gets the kill. He's 12-9. More importantly, he's 5-1 on entry battles so far on Border. 5-5. We are tied, and we are in a timeout. Or a rave club. It's one or the other. Maybe both. It's the timeout rave club.
Yeah. Very much wonder what are Elevate discussing at the moment. A challenging event for them so far, despite that healthy bullet count. Now playing what I think many would argue to be the weakest, or maybe second weakest, in front of PSG talent team at this event.
I mean, Wreck is just
issues.
literally putting his team on his shoulders and carrying them through this tournament. When you take in that he got the 3-0 against Kobilax yesterday in the 1v1, just winning that alone. Otherwise, if Wreck loses that 1v1 yesterday, they'd
be on the plane right now.
They wouldn't be here. And now he's carrying them in this match as well. He is the entry. He's the one that's got the balls to go in first, to find the kills, and not be worried about losing his life. He may have 9 deaths, but who cares? Because he's got 12 kills.
Intriguing lineup initially here from SCARZ, at least, with, I was going to say, the Ram and the Fuse combo for Vert, and then maybe leaning away from the likes of the Deimos. So we'll see what they ultimately settle for. A couple of changes. Rayora potentially in play as well. And I think Rayora, especially if you want to go for... I mean, my mind instantly goes to an aggressive front door hit where you can cut off a couple of lines of sight and focus your efforts on vents. Maybe have a little bit of pressure above to play against the Vert. The horizontal would be a lot easier to deal with. We'll see how that works out. Psycho's already used both impact grenades as well. I'll quickly note that. And so that's going to actually limit some of the counterplay potential here to quickly counter those gates. I wonder what the play will be here from SCARZ. Very much with the impression that it's a set play through front door, but we haven't seen enough Rayora certainly to make that assumption with certainty.
And we haven't seen enough Rayora to really see it be successful. That's my concern. Or have enough of an impact to say, yeah, that was worth bringing. So as you said, if it's a set play, okay, can they execute
well,
it?
It might be through customs for a bit more horizontal play as opposed to being more direct. Sort of cordon off that portion of the map. And that will cut off the likes of Psycho, etc. that are lurking in through Workshop. Keep in mind as well, it's a 4-1 split. 4 players above here from Elevate. And so on paper, a horizontal hit here from SCARZ could theoretically be the best play here, the most optimal play.
They are aware of the Vigil's presence, though. In terms of his exact location, maybe not as much, but they certainly do know the Vigil's roaming on first floor in the bathroom at the moment. They are hunting. They're trying to shut him down. As Psycho knows, he's very much trapped inside a bathroom. Will he be able to get at least one? No, it's Wreck. Entry kill number 6 has been acquired. And in the end, though, a 3 versus 3. Sampa very much low. Aegator to fall as well. And Elevate bringing it back with a bit of presence of their own. Looking to help out Psycho. They converged on the location. They brought the fight back to SCARZ. And the Sempa's very low. And the 2 versus 2 with lots of time. And surely Wishoy and Choppy can get the job done here for SCARZ.
You know he's there.
Oh, no. That's an overstep from Choppy and leaves Washoy in a 1v2. Nicely done here from Ion. He goes to double digits, and he closes the round out for Elevate as they go to 6. They go to match point and are 1 round away from eliminating SCARZ from Reload.
Elevate did the best they absolutely could in that position, installing out a little bit of time in the retake there despite things getting messy, but that was a massive bottle job from SCARZ. Once they cleared Bathroom, they had a clear path to be able to facilitate a plant, or at the very least, cut off those players looking to try and deny plant. And they just absolutely bottled it. So that's a frustrating result there for SCARZ, with a setup that looked really clean on paper and for the most part was executed well up until that very final point with that diffuser going down. So SCARZ now in a difficult position.
They are facing elimination. There's no dual
Lives are on
car.
the
There's
line.
nothing here that can help them.
Yep.
You've got to win this round. Otherwise, Elevate will go to 17 bullets, 3 plus 13, 16. Yes, but plus 1 is gained when you eliminate a team from the tournament. And a huge round from Ion. Absolutely massive round.
Yeah, I've been impressed from Elevate, especially in that kind of round where it's backs against the wall. You're not in a great position with the 1-4 split, and you still make it work.
So what does SCARZ do? And by the way, another round where the Ray Aura just didn't really have the impact.
Did you see a gate? 'Cause I didn't. I mean, there was a lot going on, so they may well.
There was a lot going on, but again, it's about when you're bringing an operator like that, it's niche, but it has to have a set use, and if we're not seeing that set use have impact, then why are you bringing it? You know, it's like playing a Ying, but we don't see the Candelas have effect. Huge round. And the pressure here, I think, is really on Rek, because he knows if he's not getting that opening kill, they're probably not going to win the round.
Yeah, speaking of Ying, the first appearance of her in this half. A Gator with a role to play, who has looked sharp on numerous occasions.
No shields to abuse either. Again, all banned out. Except for the fuse. I don't know if it's...
Yeah, fuse shield.
Yeah, so you've got the fuse shield.
Drone is ready.
Fuse going for horizontal play as opposed to vert, though, is a little bit intriguing.
I think it's just
unless they're just prioring the
I think
shield.
it's just to be safer on the roam clear. Play behind it. Choppy over towards Passport on the glass, throws out an early smoke, and he has actually got information onto the Azami of Romeo.
Can't get the kill, though.
Can't get the kill, but he is trapped. Does he get some help? No, not now. May allow Romeo actually out of there. Romeo can hold really his position, play the Azami. He can keep the keeper barriers going. Archasal was exploded by Semper, but doesn't find anything, and drops though, and loses his life 1-for-1. It was Fishlike who ended up getting the opening kill. The fuse having an impact. Not
Where are
sure
you going?
where Romeo is going though. He's thrown his life away inside a Passport. Choppy will take the free kill. And just like that, SCARZ now get the advantage.
That was incredibly aggressive and well punished ultimately there in the end from SCARZ.
3 smokes remaining, by the way. They've brought so many in this round that they've just been throwing them out like candy.
Pretty insane.
So more smokes for Choppy to be able to play off once they try and fully clear top floor. Oh, that's a peek that you don't need to make, Ion. 2 players from Elevate getting overly aggressive in this round.
Yeah, got to be a shoulder peek for info there. Wide swing, not the play.
Down to Psycho and Naka. Both have been playing well. Still a Nitrocell available for Psycho. The fuse shield spotted by Naka inside a bathroom. He's just going to be having to hope that someone would overpeak. Indeed, there it is from Rek down the hallway. Candela, effective, does get the full white onto Naka, who's playing this quite well. He's rotating through Talers, but he kept his back turned to Ayagata, who rotated behind him. 6-6, we go to overtime. Oh, this one's turning into a absolute amazing game with so much on the line for both of these two teams. For this to go to overtime is so deserving for us. I love it. I wanted this to play out exactly like this, and I'm so happy.
Yeah, I'm really glad this didn't peter out in a one-sided fashion in either direction. And for those who, again, may just be joining towards the tail end of this matchup, with the bullets that are on the line, we can't say with certainty, but there's probably a possibility, certainly for SCARZ and maybe even for Elevate, trailing just behind in terms of what they'll land on eventually, that they could maybe qual by the end of the day. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, regardless if it
But it
does
puts
or
them in a
doesn't
fantastic
happen,
position.
they're in that conversation, right? So they're in that kind of framework where it just comes down to where does 17 get you?
I mean, it's a bit of a weird discussion though, right? You either qual or you're going to be picked first tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because you'll be right on the cutoff, most likely, right? And both of these teams are going to have a target on their back.
Now you see me,
So,
now you don't.
fun times. Either way with the reload
I mean, I
format.
think either way, SCARZ, for them, it's a little different, right? They've got to win. They don't care if where they're at going into, you know, tomorrow. If they have to play tomorrow, they'll be more than happy to play.
Yeah, here we go then. SCARZ defense, a 3-3 split both halves. So even between the two, Ban's restored, and so they flip over to what they were in that first half. Bit more emphasis on info denials from SCARZ.
It's also, I think, you know, you kind of look at Elevate and you think, well, they only reloaded they could only reload the 3 bullets, right? So, like, this was kind of the issue with a team like SCARZ picking you. That ended up, you know, being one of the bad nature of the way that the format works when you're a team with a lot of bullets is you can obviously only put what your opponent has. For those a little bit unfamiliar, you might be thinking, why did Elevate not reload more? Well, they couldn't. They already used their extended mag yesterday against PSG Talon, and their opponent only has 3, so they can only reload 3. So at least the good news is for Elevate, they will be playing tomorrow if they do lose this. But it's going to be a long way back to then make the finals. SCARZ on defense to begin overtime. Of course, we had the bans that we originally had in the first half now come through for SCARZ on defense. Ion has had contact onto him, so has Rek, and this is the swing from Washoy, which honestly, back in the first half, wasn't always all that successful from the SCARZ players when they got aggressive towards the windows, but he does get the opening kill onto Naka.
And then he falls asleep.
And then he falls asleep at the wheel, and Semper will happily put him in out of his misery.
I was going to mention that line of sight as being so risky to cross that to get the first pick, and then he falls straight back into it on the second when he needs to be playing passive behind the pillar. So, look, at the end of the day, at least it's one.
What?
Rek is also asleep.
Rek has just left himself fully exposed to a walkthrough in towards the hallway.
And that's off the back of a teammate dying in security, so big disconnect.
Well, Fishlike does find his 3rd kill of the game at a very paramount time. Speaking of 3s, 3v3 with 60 seconds left in a huge round. You get this, you get 2 opportunities to close this match out, this best of 1. Still 1 Nitrocell available for Choppy. Semper, top metal, he knows there's one down below. As the yellow ping information, top floor control for Elevate has been gained, but they do have to make their way over to vent.
Choppy's in a bad position. He's on cam inside of server.
Oh no, Choppy.
There you go. Yellow ping.
That's 3 players for SCARZ in this round
And
that
there's
died
the
standing still. Literally died standing still. Fishlike's going for a re-clear up above with 20 seconds left, hoping to catch someone.
On cam.
He has a little bit of information, but as you said, he is on the cameras, and he will be dead instantly. Ayagator. The best way he wins this round is stopping that diffuser being put onto the floor as we head into red time in a 1v3. Psycho in towards Workshop. It doesn't matter. Ion was immediately ready for Ayagator. Elevate with another match point. And for SCARZ, they must now win the next 2 rounds or their time at reload is over.
Yeah, the first 2 picks there against SCARZ freebies and players that are seemingly unaware of the map control.
That was really bad.
Elevate have. To be fair, the final 3 were all credit to Elevate.
But
they were all based off info.
Still, go back to the first half. What worked for SCARZ? Mobility on defense, taking map control, being active. And we saw a little bit of it at the start with Washoy when he found the opening kill, but then he ends up just sitting still. Why are they not moving around, being active, trying to be aggressive into Elevate? Which is what worked for them in the first half. Instead, this round, they just sit still. They're on cams. Well done from Elevate. Elevate just punished it perfectly. An incredible round for Elevate. But question marks there for SCARZ, and if this is the way that they're going to be eliminated from the tournament, it's so disappointing after what's been a really good match.
Question mark on objective choice. It's OT
Yeah.
and you're going
absolutely.
Like,
Why
what's
are you not
going
going
on
Armory
there?
Archives?
I don't know. And it's frustrating moments like that as an APAC fan that
whole
just make you
round
scratch your head.
they're just thrown. Yeah. Absolutely bottle it. And
Elevate, again, circling back, really good information. And I mean, especially like for the retake, the one in server to clear vent, like that was on
5
point.
seconds left
But
before insertion.
cracks in the armor before that for SCARZ, which are pretty inexcusable.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
Regardless though, now need to reset. Attacking has been okay for them today. Large portion off that off Wreck though, so they need to facilitate him, and equally Elevate need to counter that Deimos to the best of their ability. They don't bring any hard counters, but in terms of positioning, calling out where he's playing, do they want to try and hunt him down? Do they want to try and ignore him, prevent contact? 4 marks available for Wreck, so we'll see what kind of value he is able to gain.
Successfully won this side on the attack. Did SCARZ back in the 10th round. Wreck, of course, did get that opening kill. So kind of backing up the point, you're just making so much pressure on the Deimos. Opening kills for this entire game, guys. Only 3 for Elevate. We played 13 rounds.
Wow.
13 rounds, they've only had 3 opening kills. SCARZ have had 10. And they've had 6 of those not be converted. So it's the early portion of the rounds that SCARZ have found success, but it's the mid-round and the late round Elevate. That's where they have been better. Wreck on the move.
Well, he's going to post up top east. We've seen this a couple of times, so Elevate should be clued in.
I mean, I do back in this confidence from Wreck. He's been so good in this match and just not seeming to wilt under the pressure. He feels like he thrives in the pressure. The way he's peeking these angles, looking at 90.
Ooh, he pushes.
And he's just so aggressive. He knows that there's going to be someone that wants to peek down that corridor.
Well, they've heard that AK now, so Elevate, with certainty, know that Wreck is there again.
Yeah, that's the red ping information. By the way, only 4 drones, 4 active drones remaining for SCARZ. Make that 3. 60 seconds left. Gas Babe out again from Romeo, and he has 1 left.
It's a big stack from SCARZ. This is getting a bit sketchy.
It's just too one-dimensional. They've got a 5 stack here on the east side of the map. They've got nothing towards security. They've got nothing outside Armory Archives. I mean, this is just pretty much send it in, hope for the best, and the best has been found. Wreck got 1, almost a second. That is an absolute angel. Naka absolutely holding out and holding for Psycho, who would have been dead. He does eventually now die. His position was known, courtesy of that swing from Wreck, and it is going to be a 3 versus 3 with 35 seconds remaining. SCARZ must win this round, or they are eliminated from reload.
Well, they still have full Capitao U2, so let's get that on the board. Let's go for the archives here, and SCARZ can pull this off.
Yellow ping information. Washoy knows there's one close to the right-hand side,
What?
and he overlooks it. He even pinged it. Why did he not check that angle? Now down to Choppy and Aegator. 2v3, loses the battle, and Naka from the same spot gets the same result, and Aegator's not going to be capable. Elevate have elevated into the top 4 with those 17 bullets, and they've sent SCARZ home from Rio. They are done. Activate that eliminator card.
Clean work there from Elevate, who had to grind away in this game. Tested big time. SCARZ on the flip side, unable to rise to the occasion. Too reliant on Wreck, too many mistakes, and ultimately probably the result that they deserved after clutching up yesterday.
Yeah, Wreck dies there, they die there. That's the reality. Wreck doesn't get the opening kill, they don't get the opening kill. I mean, tremendous job to the man with the orange hair. He was sensational, not just yesterday, but even again today. But not enough to help his team, not enough to help SCARZ, as they will fall to their APAC brethren, who are making a little early statement here. I know APL doesn't start for a little bit of time for Stage 1, guys, but Elevate have knocked off Talon, they've knocked off SCARZ, they've sent them both home, and they're up to 17 bullets, and very well may be making their way to the arena in front of their Brazilian home fans.
Well, yeah, Elevate have very much been able to min-max this format. You know, carrying on from that with the Eliminator, they do get the extra bullet added as well off the back of sending SCARZ home. Puts them in a good position. A lot of siege still to play out this afternoon, so we don't know exactly where that is going to position them. There's a potential for them to qualify. We're not entirely sure what that threshold will be. They're in the conversation, but they'll be very, very close.
That's the main thing. They're in that conversation. They're in a position where they can actually qualify off of the 17 bullets that they're now going to have, and so that's really all you can ask for if you Elevate. They'd be quite disappointed though if they finish, say, like 5th or 6th by the end of today, because then they're a prime target for teams tomorrow. But that's a conversation that obviously we and then the rest of the crew can kind of have towards the end of the day. At the moment, it's job done from Elevate. They'll sit happy with their 17 bullets, and for SCARZ, they will be going home. They tried their best. It's not good enough. Elevate, 17 bullets in the win. We go to a break.